are listening to Talking Hoosier Baseball,
a podcast
by fans from the IUBase.com website.
For anyone wanting more information on the Indiana University baseball program.
Welcome. We are recording this on Monday, March 9th, 2020. I am Carl James, joined by the man who can make a birthday at the BART extra special, Chris Feeney. Stats guru Cassidy Palmer is out today, but did record the series preview we will play later in tonight's show. IUBase.com creator Josh Bennett is under the weather and hopefully resting as we record this. This is our 50th episode. We should get a toaster or something. Oh, that was Josh's job. Oh well. Well, there are good ways to open up the home season, and then there's run ruling your biggest rival. 17 runs on 15 hits in only 6 innings of hitting. Jordan Fusi paced the Hoosiers, going 2 for 4 with a double and 5 runs batted in. Cole Barr had 3 hits. Drew Ashley, Elijah Dunham, Hunter Jesse, and Jeremy Houston all added a pair of hits each as well. So just a huge day in the bat for the midweek win over Purdue. Cal Kruger got the win in 2 innings of scoreless relief.
Well, I don't know that I had necessarily expectations on what we would do as far as the outcome of games, but they have met and exceeded my expectations on the way that we would play the game. It's a really tough group. It's a resilient group. It's a focused and disciplined group, although late there we were pretty unbridled. But they're a group, they just play out 27 outs, and we just compete, and they follow a plan. So when I walk in and I put a game plan in, I'm confident that this group will go out and to the best of their abilities try to execute that game plan.
The weekend 4-game series with San Diego was quickly shortened to 3 games when freezing wind chills canceled the Friday contest. Saturday's doubleheader continued the hot bats of the Hoosiers. Cooper Trinkle got an RBI double to take the lead for Indiana in the 4th inning. Trinkle paced the Hoosiers with 3 hits. Cole Barr and Elijah Dunham also put up multi-hit games. Gabe Behrman held the Toreros to 1 earned run in 6.1 innings.
Well, he's always been a tough kid, right? His upbringing and his family did that, and that's him. He's gained 40 pounds, right? He's invested into his body. He's invested into his diet and nutrition, the weight room, and he's worked to master his craft. Where he didn't have the changeup that he does before, and didn't have the slider, didn't have the velocity. All those things allow him his stuff to continue to grow. And then you add that you add the increased stuff to an already competitive kid under the guidance of a great pitching coach, and you have a chance to have a really good arm, which he is.
And Braden Scott earned his first save with 2.2 innings of work, giving up only 1 hit and no walks.
The first game we did a fine job. The guy was really good through him here last week, so I thought he did a fine job in the first game.
Game 2 saw the Hoosier bats quieted by San Diego's Carter Rustad. Rustad struck out 9 Hoosiers en route to a 6.1 inning 2-hit victory in the nightcap of the Saturday doubleheader.
You can't go up there and have like a heat check swing in the first strike, and then settle in after that at bat. You can't swing at fastballs at your neck, and you can't swing at fastballs in the dirt. And then you can't whine and complain, on an officiating call one way or the other. When you go up and do knucklehead things throughout the course of an at bat, like you can't give away 2 or 3 pitches during an at bat, and then want to judge a fine call on a toss up 1 inch one way or the other. So we don't have to change anything. We just have to do what we've done for the first however many games we've played, and just go back to do what we do. The game rewards toughness. It rewards consistency, and so we have to be consistent. And when we're not, it's a really tough game to win. And when you are, it's a much easier game to manage, and it's still a tough game to win, but easier to manage.
Tommy Summer pitched 3 innings of scoreless, hitless ball, but did issue 3 free passes and racked up 62 pitches. Matt Litwicki, while charged for the loss due to an earned and unearned run given up in the 4th, went on to strike out 3 in 4 innings of work, keeping the game within striking distance.
He kind of got in a groove. He kind of got in a roll there. Was able to execute his off-speed pitch really well. Pitched really well. The velo kind of ticked up as he went, and I think we had planned on him going 1 less than he did, and he rolled really quickly. And I looked at Justin and just said, like, let's go 1 more. Like he's really in a good spot.
The Hoosiers lost the game 6-2. The Sunday game was ugly. The Hoosiers lost 13-5, but that final score even looked better than the reality of the struggles that the Hoosiers had at the plate. Save Drew Ashley getting on base 4 times and hitting a scoreboard shot, 5 Hoosiers took the mound, and only Connor Manis escaped without giving up an earned run.
We played like a really immature team that didn't really know how to respond once we got kind of hit in the mouth, and it showed throughout the course of the game. We continue to give ourselves opportunities, but we did things that poor offenses do, where you get in between timing, you expand the zone, you don't work, keep balls low the other way late with 2 strikes, and we took hanging off speed pitches and 1-0 counts, and when you do those things, you just don't give yourself a chance to consistently put at bats together or string innings together. And when you do have a little bit, you're constantly with a couple guys on base and 2 outs, where you really run into roadblocks there. With you got 2 guys on and 2 outs. We did that a bunch. Where we didn't do it, we didn't put an entire inning together. And when you do that, there's just not enough outs to be able to score multiple runs in an inning. And we didn't pitch well, right? We didn't pitch well at all. We didn't execute pitches. We didn't execute 2-strike breaking balls. We didn't look at our fastball. We were changing arm slots. We just did a lot of really silly things that young teams that kind of have an emotional moment do, and those things showed themselves.
Although it didn't end quite as well as the Hoosiers would have liked, we of course have Hoosier highlights. Chris, what was your Hoosier highlight for the week?
Thanks, Carl. And just before the Hoosier highlights get said, I want to kick in with the 50th episode. I remember when we started doing this, we were kicking names around for the show. Indiana Baseball Weekly, This Week in Indiana Baseball. And personally, I was afraid to call it anything weekly, because I was like, oh, what if we don't want to do it? Maybe we won't do it. And for the 3rd season in a row, we have, missed a week. I think 1 got delayed. That Texas loss was rough. Okay, I think we waited an extra week before we recorded that one, but it got recorded. And to think 50 episodes later is pretty cool. And we really could have called it something weekly if we wanted to, because we have done it every week, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of 50. I know there's other pods that have 100 and 700. You know what? I'll take my 50 and be very proud of it. So if anybody's been with us from the start or with us from yesterday, thank you. And it's really fun to do. And thank you to Carl taking over. Definitely some upgrade with video editing and all that. Thanks, Carl. And for Hoosier highlights, 50th episode to me is a highlight. But obviously for the game. And now last year when we opened the bar, the first guy hit a home run, Matt Gorski. I don't know if you remember. So Drew Ashley had a lot of pressure on him, especially after we were down 1-0. I think he walked, but it wasn't his at bat that was the Hoosier highlight. It was the whole inning. 7 runs in the first inning, 4 hits, 2 Purdue errors. Jordan Fusey's double, the opposite field double was huge. That was one of the most fun innings. Like, that's a fun inning if you're playing Northwestern. That's a fun inning no matter who you're playing. But to know you're playing Purdue and just the games that we've had against them have really been drag-out games lately. And I felt like, the way the top of the first was a little rough until McKay had settled down with those 2 big strikeouts. But to come back with 7 runs in the first, definitely my Hoosier highlight. What about you, Carl?
For me, I'm going to take the 8th inning of San Diego Game 1. The bases were loaded. It felt good. We felt like we were in a good position. We felt like the game was going to go to the Hoosiers. But Grant Richardson comes up with the bases loaded. And I think you were there with me at the time. And I turned to you and I said, you know what? Grant's going to call game right here. It
wasn't me. It must have been Josh. I was down the first baseline. I got a nice video of it, though.
Okay.
And the crowd went crazy.
It was my dad. No, it was my dad. I remember. I was like, yep, nope. Grant's going to call game right here. Like, yep, he's going to call game right here. I don't know exactly how, but he's going to call game right here.
Oh,
And
he did.
Then, yeah, bases clearing triple. Called game. It was done. It was over. It was awesome. It's just having that kind of confidence and having a hitter like Grant that you can just kind of have that feeling that, yep, it's going to happen. It's going to happen right here. All right. Well, now it's time for Chris to give out this week's red belts.
All right, Carl. Now, as far as the red belts, I got hit with the age-old decision of, well, it's not age-old. We've only been doing this for 3 seasons, but the age-old decision of the red belt decision. Do you go with the big moment, or do you go to the cumulative, what the person did for 4 games, or do you go with the web gem play, even if the game wasn't in hand at that point? So there was a lot of decisions going on for these ones. For the defensive red belt, for the Tony Butler, I'm just going to, talk my way through these decisions since we're a little short-handed tonight anyway. The way I thought about the defensive one, to me, the biggest defensive play of the game, of the week, was when Braden Scott came in for Bierman in the 7th and we turned 2. We got out of that to not have them score another run. But, it was a pretty much tailor-made double play. Braden Scott basically threw that double play. Jeremy over to Cooper, the easy turn. Plus, who do you give a red belt to on a double play anyway? So that was it was a tough one. Who I'm going to give it to, though, even though the game was out of hand, about the 8th inning of Sunday, Cole Barr made a play going past the foul, and he could have shook the umpire's hand from where he threw that ball, and then Elijah Dunham scooped it up. Especially going from where Cole Barr started as a third baseman. No offense, Cole. But there was some plays that, he had a hard time with. And to make a web gem like that on Sunday, he's going to get the Tony Butler red belt. I understand the game wasn't it was basically decided by them, but you know what? It's a defensive red belt, so we're going with that. Offensively, again, to me, the biggest hit of the 4 games was the Cooper Trinkle 2-out knock. Or maybe it was the next 2 at-bats with Jeremy Houston getting the walk on a full count and then Drew Ashley hitting a double. That whole sequence might have been the best. But, again, I get to pick how I decide them. So I'm going Jordan Fusey again because my man drove in 5 RBIs against Purdue. He hit a bomb in that game, the second game on Saturday when we really were trying to come back. And the improvement that he's shown, I think it was the 5 RBIs against the Purdue that really got it done. But, red belts are, however you want to give them out, you do.
And Oppo shot off the scoreboard. It's pretty impressive.
Yes. And I understand we didn't win that game, and there's a lot to go into this stuff. But he did hit that off the scoreboard. That's right. It was low. It wasn't a Matt Gorski over the scoreboard.
No, but it was Oppo. So that's
true.
I don't remember seeing anybody else hit an Oppo one off that board yet. So
you know what I remember though? Luke Miller Oppo the other way, obviously, went through that metal fence.
Yeah,
didn't go over it, but it went through it. That's a shot too. I heard that fence has Grant Richardson's name all over it. We'll see what happens though. Imagine if he clears that thing. He might though. He really might. All right, so then that leaves us the pitching red belt, the Joey Donato red belt. Couple of choices for this too, but to me it was pretty obvious. We're going to go Gabe Bierman. He threw the best for the week. He got into the 7th inning again, 6.1 innings. Just gave up the 1 earned run. As we saw later on in the series, these guys can hit and score. It felt like it was going to be this low scoring, during that first game Saturday. But obviously those bats came around. They obviously pitched us backwards. We got their better guys later. But Gabe did what he had to do, and he secured a pitching red belt for, I think that's his 2nd one now. And both games he got into the 7th inning. So it really shows that the starter role is working out for him. Now, we got a whole lot of mailbag, so we're going to get to that next. But just to review, it is Jordan Fusey for hitting, Cole Barr for defense, and Gabe Bierman for pitching this week.
Hey Hoosier fans, this is the segment you've all been waiting for. It's mailbag time! It's mailbag time! It's mailbag time!
All right, mailbag. Our first question comes from Paul. Paul asks, shouldn't Drew Ashley just have a set position already? He's one of our best, but needs to be comfortable in the field. Chris, what do you think?
Okay, I thought about this one a lot, and it's a really valid question. I mean, you see it through the majors, through the minors, through other college teams. When you are good at a little bit of everything, maybe you're not good at all at anything. That's not the case with Drew, though. It's the way I look at it. Is he a 10 out of 10 fielder in any position he plays? Maybe not. But I feel like he's at a 7.5 in all of them. And if you're a jack of all trades, that's good too. Would I rather him be most comfortable because of that bat that we need in the lineup? Absolutely. Okay. Somebody asked me, you need a big hit, up and down the lineup. He's one of the first names that's going to come to my mind. Not if you ask me if you need, a bomb home run, but he hits those too, actually. But if you need a slap hit the other way, maybe if you need a bunt down, if you need a hit and run set up, that's the guy. Drew Ashley's the guy. And yes, he's a jack of all trades. He can play all over the diamond. It doesn't seem to be affecting his bat. I mean, he scuffled a little. He had a couple of downs, but most of it's been up. And right now, I don't think there's a position for him, the way this lineup and the puzzle pieces are fitting, to keep him in one solid spot. It's affecting two other spots. So it's a great question, and I understand where Paul's coming from. But, I mean, I don't know if there's a spot right now 100% for him to play every single day. And as long as it's not affecting his bat, I think, let him do it. It's a big plus draft-wise, that's for sure. Look what I can do, right? Play everywhere. That'd be my call on that one. Now our next question comes from Facebook from Trent. He wrote in, "Hey, where were the Sunday Reds this week?" Now I got an idea. We'll let Coach answer it.
The issue is I'm built like a Lego. I'm built like a sack of potatoes, and I didn't think that red made me look good. No, I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of the all red, and I know they're popular and those things. And I'm in no way like a fashion aficionado. My wife dresses me half the time, but I just wasn't as big of a fan. And I thought the creams are really nice, and so we went with those. But I don't know. After I play today, maybe I should bring the Reds back and bring back a little bit of positive energy to the group. So,
all right, thanks, Coach, for the explanation. We actually got a few of those questions, but we just decided to use Trent's for the mailbag. I'm glad they heard it from you, Coach. Our next question is Jeff from the student section. He sent in, and this is going to be obviously for Carl, if you haven't noticed to him. There's no one else. Do you foresee any changes in the rotation, and how much of the pitching issues is maturity/experience versus just the talent issue?
Jeff, thank you very much for the question. When I look at college pitching, it's not necessarily a rotation. So in a rotation, guys may, in the major leagues, you have different days of the week, and basically it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you go back to 1. In college, there are assigned days. You got Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I see Friday as your high ceiling and high floor guy, the guy who can go really long innings against really good competition and try to hold a team down to like 0, 1, maybe 2 runs. And I think they've really determined that Gabe Bierman's that guy. Your Saturday starter, reliable, experienced, someone who's able to pitch a lot of innings, a very high floor, doesn't necessarily need as high a ceiling as the Friday guy. And I think that, Tommy Summer fits the bill with that. He's the experienced, the experienced leader of the group. That's your Saturday starter. Sunday's a bit of a different animal. Sometimes in the past, Sundays at IU have been almost bullpen type days. We were very fortunate, last year to have the Big Ten pitcher of the week pitching on Sundays. But again, that was kind of an interesting scenario because that was a case where Tommy was in that role to start before he had to take a month off. And as he was coming back, he wasn't going to be able to pitch those kind of innings. And Saul Frank, earned the role and then showed that in addition to the very high ceiling, which we all knew he had, anybody who saw that game at Texas knew he had it. He then also put a very high floor under that, and that allowed him to be a consistent starter and eventually Big Ten pitcher of the year. So yes, there is a lot of talent among the reliever group. I mean, Braden Scott has been almost unhittable. Connor Mann.
I couldn't believe that was his first save, Carl. I couldn't believe it. When you said it, or I read it in your intro, I can't be right. I feel like he's saved us like many, many times this year already. Yeah.
But, whether it's the technical definition of a save, he's put in some very critical innings. Connor Manis has been a solid piece at the back end. Pleasantly surprised with what we saw from Litwicky this week. I mean, that was the highlight of the second game, really, was what Litwicky was able to do after he got out of that rough inning. 3 innings have pretty much shut down baseball. So you're seeing a lot of different pieces. Is it possible that there might be adjustments? Maybe, but I doubt it. I think for now, at least, Braden Tucker is the Sunday guy. I see no changes happening on Friday and Saturday. Those are there. Midweeks, I don't really foresee true starting roles. I really like to call them openers because I don't expect those guys are going to be pitching, beyond 4 innings. It's really going to be you get one bullpen guy in for 2 to 3 innings, and then you just keep following people on based on the scenarios. But the relievers on the weekends, in many cases, that first reliever is even more important than the Sunday starter. That first reliever is the person that you go to when you've got a lead. The starter is pretty well done, and you need to hold that lead. And I think Braden Scott, is filling that role. Connor Manis is the role of shutting the door. Although I think to some degree, he could be called on for 3 innings, like he did at Victory Field last year. That's something that you could see. I think it's just huge that they've got Litwicky as an option in the middle. And if they could get really good, consistent starts from Gabe, Tommy, and Braden to not require as much of that middle and to be able to use these guys, 1, 2, 3 on the back end, there's a lot of flexibility here. And I think I'm really confident about the pitching on the weekends. I'm very curious to see what happens, in the midweeks. And with 2 midweeks coming, I'm very, very interested to see that.
We have our 2 openers. I don't know if you noticed them, Carl. With Modugno, John Modugno is going to be Evansville, and David Platt is going to be Cincinnati. But
Okay.
I think, like you said, they're going to be openers. How long are they going to go? Modugno was a reliever in high school. He was the closer. He didn't even start in high school. So,
Yeah.
But they both have some velo. You're going to
Yeah.
see they're both coming out with gas early the next 2 days. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see Modugno because I was really impressed with him in the fall. So I'm going to be happy to see him actually take the field.
From the East Coast, too, if you didn't know.
Okay.
New Jersey. Yeah. Got to root for him.
All right. Well, as we mentioned early on, Cassidy is providing the preview for the coming week's action. So we will go to that recording now.
So the Hoosiers will be facing 3 different teams this week: Evansville and Cincinnati in the midweek, and Memphis on the weekend. On Tuesday, March 10th, the Hoosiers will travel to Evansville to take on the Aces at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Now remember, for anyone who's traveling to Evansville, there's going to be a time change going to Evansville and coming back, so keep that in mind if you are traveling. The Aces are currently 4-11 on the season. They lost a midweek at Vandy, and then they did win 3 at home versus Butler, and then lost 3 this past weekend at College of Charleston. In the lone overlap of opponents so far this season, they did beat UT Martin 5-3 last midweek. As a whole, the team's batting .224. They do have a few standouts. Mason Brinkley, who has played both second base and left field for the Aces, is hitting .400 in 7 starts, 13 appearances, and he actually hit .615 this past weekend. So he's hitting the ball well lately. Tanner Craig, the 3-hole hitting first baseman, is hitting .352 on the season, and he actually has 7 home runs and 13 walks this season. But he only hit .200 this past weekend, so he might be due for a couple hits. On the pitching side, the Ace staff has a .583 ERA. So far on the season, they've used 2 different starters in their 2 midweeks, and neither went more than 2 innings. Jacob Meyer, the freshman right-hander, got the tough matchup against Vandy and went 1 inning, giving up 1 run on 2 hits, a walk, and a wild pitch. Tyler Denyu, the freshman left-hander, pitched against UT Martin. He went 2 innings and gave up 1 run on 3 hits, 2 of which were doubles, but did have 4 strikeouts. However, Evansville seems to treat midweeks kind of the same way IU has, where they're bullpen games. So it could be one of these 2, or it could be someone else altogether. It could just be someone they want to give some innings to. kind of hard to tell. Some notable alumni for Evansville. There's actor Rami Malek, and then basketball player and coach of the Utah Jazz for 23 seasons, Jerry Sloan. That last name should sound familiar to Hoosier fans, as Jerry is the grandfather of Indiana pitcher Grant Sloan. He played at Evansville from 1962 to 1965. The Hoosiers will then be hosting the Cincinnati Bearcats on Wednesday, March 11th at 4:05 Eastern Time. The Bearcats are currently 7-7. They lost 3 versus Florida State and then swept Oakland and Eastern Michigan. They lost to Kentucky in the only midweek game so far, 12-4 in Lexington. They're hitting .288 as a team, and oddly enough, the bat to watch for is Jeremy Johnson, the 9-hole hitting center fielder. He's hitting .370 on the year, has 6 doubles, 3 triples, and a home run. And he hit .667 over the weekend. So again, another guy who's seeing the ball really, really well lately. The pitching staff has a .685 ERA. The starter in their one midweek so far was Ben Bohr, a freshman right-hander. He went 3+ innings, giving up 7 runs on 9 hits with 1 strikeout. He did leave a pair of runners in the 4th inning with no outs, so that's the 3+ innings. But again, it's a midweek bullpen game. They could use someone completely different who they want to give innings to. There's a long list of athletic alums for Cincinnati. Of course, you have Sandy Koufax, the Hall of Famer who really needs no introduction or description of any kind. You also have Kevin Youkilis, who's a hometown Cincy boy, and he played mostly with the Red Sox. On the football side, you have Travis Kelce, the Kansas City Chiefs tight end. And in current baseball, you have Ian Happ with the Cubs and Josh Harrison with the Pirates. They're both going to be pretty busy on Wednesday, though. On the weekend, the Hoosiers will be hosting the Memphis Tigers. And any fans who are going to be going to the games, you may want to break out the raincoats and ponchos for the weekend, at least Friday and Saturday. There's some pretty good chance for rain. Probably not storms, but some good rain. The Friday game will get started at 4:00 Eastern, Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday will be a 12 noon first pitch. The Tigers are currently 10-5 on the season, but they also have a double midweek this week. They will be playing Middle Tennessee twice. They lost 2 of 3 versus Xavier on opening weekend, and then they swept Dayton and Western Illinois. However, in that second series there, they scored 55 runs in 3 games, including 24 runs in game 1 and 23 runs in game 3. We thought this Hoosier offense could put up some runs when they wanted to. This Tigers offense can really put on some runs, it turns out. This past weekend, they won 2 of 3 versus UNCW, and they've lost the one overlap opponent so far this season. That was Ole Miss, and they lost 8-1 in a midweek. The team is hitting .267 as a team, but as we saw from those 2 Western Illinois games, they can really put on the fireworks. Ben Brooks, the 2-hole hitting shortstop who has started all 15 games, leads the team with a .383 average with 3 home runs. He hit .307 over the weekend. Braden Webb is another one to look out for. He's the left fielder. He's hitting .346 on the season, but he went off on the weekend hitting .545. The big power guy to look out for is Hunter Goodman, the catcher. He's hitting .333 on the season, so he's hitting well, but he's big power. He has 7 home runs and 30 RBI so far this season. And this will sound kind of ridiculous, but in that series against Western Illinois, he had 4 homers, 3 of them grand slams, hit .563, and drove in 22 runs in the series. That's pretty impressive. He does also lead the team in strikeouts at 13, which you kind of expect from a power guy. And on this weekend, he only hit .083. So he's probably going to want to hit the ball and hit the ball hard when he gets to the BART. A final batter to look out for is Taylor Howell, the right fielder. He's coming in hot this weekend, having hit .417 against UNCW. The pitching side has been just as impressive as the offense. They have a 2.98 ERA, and they've only given up 7 home runs on the season. They've also walked 58 batters compared to 170 strikeouts. If you do the math, they're averaging 11 strikeouts per game. The Friday starter is Danny Dens. He's a senior lefty. He's 2-0 on the season and has a 1.5 ERA in 18 innings of work. He's only given up 7 hits so far in the season. And while he has walked 9 batters, he's struck out 26, and opponents are hitting just 113 off of him. Against UNCW, he went 6 innings, giving up just 1 hit and fanning 11. The Saturday starter is Carson Stinnett, a junior righty. He is 1-1 on the season and has a 2.05 ERA in 22 innings. He's given up 19 hits, but only 1 of those was a home run. He has also fanned 23, so about 1 per inning, and opponents are hitting 226 off of him. Against UNCW, he went 7 1/3 innings, giving up no earned runs on 5 hits. Sunday's starter is Blake Wimberly, a redshirt freshman righty, so a little younger than the other 2. He's 2-1 on the season with a 3.86 ERA in 16 1/3 innings. He has given up 16 hits, about 1 an inning, but has struck out 22. Opponents are hitting a little better against him at 258. However, he does have 3 wild pitches, 2 HBPs, and Feeney will love this. He does have a balk so far this season. Against UNCW, he went 5 innings, giving up 1 earned run on 4 hits, 3 walks, and 2 wild pitches, both of which were in the 4th inning. Their closer has been real impressive so far this season. Dakota Matoxin, he's a senior righty. He has 2 saves in 7 appearances and has yet to give up a run in 8 innings. He's allowed 4 hits and 1 walk, but has struck out 17, which is almost 60% of all of the batters he's faced. Against UNCW, he appeared for 1 inning in both the Friday and the Saturday games, so don't be surprised to see him pitch multiple games against the Hoosiers. And he gave up just 1 hit and struck out 3. On the alumni side, I don't think we'll see either of these at the BART, but Derek Rose with the Chicago Bulls is an alum, as is Dan Ugla, who played from 06 to 15 for several teams, mostly the Marlins and the Braves.
All right. Thank you, Cass. Now, Chris will talk a bit about what game day experiences are new at the BART this season.
Thanks, Carl. Yes, we were back at the BART for 2020. We got our first sunglasses, sunburn. We got our first scruffy voices. And there was a lot of new additions to the BART that I know I noticed and that were pointed out to me from others. Like, I didn't even pick up on some of them. There was so many. First off, on the left field wall, we have all our Big Ten championships, all our regional appearances, and, of course, the College World Series, marked out on the wall. And you know how people leave a little room in their coffee for milk? This staff left a little room on the wall for more, which I thought was pretty cool. The game day just seems a lot better. In between innings, they're putting up the alumni up on the board. I saw an Alex Dickerson, a Ryan Halstead. They, when they played here, photos of them. I noticed they do that at the football games. This was the first time I ever noticed it at the BART. So that was pretty cool. Out-of-town scoreboard popping up there. Big Ten and otherwise games that we might be interested in were displayed on the scoreboard between innings. As always, any of the staff that I ran into, there was some old familiar faces and some new ones, and they were all very nice and helpful, whenever the case may be. I had Sunday, I spent the day out on the big hill with my nephew's birthday, Nolan, and Lisa spoke to the staff she helped me out with that, and they got his name on the board, and they left it up there really long, and they gave him a big, nice shout out. We did our cupcakes and stuff right then, and there was a lot of kids out there. He had his friends there and friends of ours kids. and the staff was very cool. We're like, some of them kind of ran away. They were helping us. Some of them are pretty young. He's only, he just turned 6, and some of the other kids were even younger. The staff has been really good. It was a lot of things that, it made it a better experience. So whatever game day staff is involved with this and the changes, I know I'm real appreciative of them. And it just makes the experiences even better. I even think I noticed some new maybe reliever songs they were playing. If the relievers for the other team weren't doing too well, or any pitchers for that matter. I thought I noticed a couple of new walk songs too.
Yes, there are new walk songs.
There were, right?
Yeah, and it's important because we've learned this team walks a lot. So that group they had of 4 initially just didn't cut it. Yeah, they're
mixing it up, right?
Yeah,
I'm not sure who's in charge of that, but they're doing a great job. And I definitely we saw the playlist on Spotify. I heard a lot of the music. I was glad there was some rock and roll in there. I was grateful. It wasn't all songs I've never heard of. So
yeah,
that was cool too.
A little bit more variety in the walk-up songs this year. Yep.
Am I right? I noticed it. Yeah. That's some good parenting. That means the parents explain to their kids some good music. So yeah, we just wanted to touch on some of that. There's some real new additions, and it went really well. And I got to give the staff credit. I know there was some parking, this and that, what time, and they were very transparent. They gave out great information that we were able to pass along to everybody. And come on, they're not going to just open it for free during basketball. No one would do that. And they really worked with us, and I thought that was really cool. So the game day environment was really good. Oh, and the early cancellation. I wanted to throw that in. There were some times I know people woke up in the morning of weekdays and then just found out that the game was canceled or delayed, and this went out the day before, and I thought that was cool too. So a lot of good stuff that came from the BART this week. And wear sunscreen if you wear sunglasses up, because it looks so funny afterwards. So that's it for the new additions to the BART. And from what I guess I got to find out. Carl, is it time for the RPI yet?
No, it's not time yet, Chris.
All right, what about now?
Nope.
See, I've been trying to get this RPI stuff started forever. Now?
Okay, for real. It is a bit too early.
I like
to
the
look
RPI.
at RPI. Yeah, I know. Hey, I love the RPI. I absolutely love it. But I've disciplined myself to not obsess too much about it at this point. I know if those people pull up ranks, you might be a little excited about what you see, but don't. There's so much that just doesn't matter at this point in the season. Now, I will say that so far Indiana's opponents have gone 414 wins, 358 losses, which is good for a .5363 winning percentage, which is about what we would normally expect this time of year. Kind of wish that was a little higher. We'll see how it progresses as the season progresses. The Big Ten is 94 and 84 for a 52-81. That's probably a little lighter than we would hope for. It's been a little bit of a rough opening for the Big Ten. And we're still at the point now that no team has emerged as the dominant player. Probably if IU had won this weekend, that might have been different, but IU didn't. So almost everyone's had a series that they've gotten punched in the mouth so far this season so far.
I saw the rankings have changed too. I've been updating the top 25 with all the teams that are on our schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I went to do it. This is only 2 left. Michigan's out. East Carolina's out. South Alabama's out. All I saw left was LSU and Ole Miss. Ole Miss went way up. They're very high up, and LSU was in the 20s. But so I guess it's not only the losses; it's who's losing that's affecting us.
But there are some interesting things popping up. This game at Victory Field's going to be something. Notre Dame is 10-2. Notre Dame just swept North Carolina at North Carolina. So,
wow. I did not know.
Yeah. So
at North Carolina.
At North Carolina, yes.
Whoa.
They started 3-0 in the ACC. So, one group, 11.7, actually went ahead and ranked Notre Dame this year, this past week. So,
were they supposed to be that good?
No.
Okay.
But they're saying that those guys are actually saying, hey, they watched some of those games and they said Notre Dame's legit, so watch out. So you just don't know. That was not a game I looked at on the schedule thinking, oh, that's going to be a real big tough midweek, and it is, and of course it's on the big stage. So that might be a really, really big game to look forward to. And one of these Big Ten teams is going to break out. Whether it's we'd love for it to be Indiana, but you're going to look at one of the other teams. Someone like Illinois, someone like Ohio State, and Michigan. Maybe Michigan finds it. The talent experts all say Michigan's got the talent. Maybe it'll be like it was last year. They don't really develop it till later in the year. Maybe you'll see that. So there's we might see something still. We might still see something still out of this schedule. So we were very positive last week when we had our group discussion. Group's a little smaller right now, but now after a mixed week. I mean, let's be honest, it was a mixed week, and even throw in weird facts like the Sunday Indiana got 10 hits in that game on Sunday. Granted, a lot of them came kind of during junk time at the end, but still 10 hits. That's nothing to sneeze at. Has our overall outlook changed, Chris? What do you think?
Well, for me, it was apparent that they pitched us backwards. So if you would have reversed some of that pitching, it could have been, would have been 1-1 either way. Maybe we would have won the second game on Saturday, and it would have came down to a Sunday deciding third game, which I thought it was going to anyway, to be honest. I knew San Diego was good. Well, actually, that would have been a 4-game series at that point. But when it came down to 3, I could definitely see Sunday being for the whole thing. And, they had a lot of arms. And it was a Jekyll and Hyde week. I wrote it on the site. It was a Jekyll and Hyde week, man. We scored 26 runs in the first 2 nights. And then really, if you take away McCrumber's triple, we scored 2 runs to finish the weekend. It's disappointing. It does show us that if we don't stick to the approach, I really liked what Coach was saying in the post game of Sunday, the way he really touched on, we had a plan. We didn't follow the plan. And you don't follow the plan, this is what happens. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how much their arms had to do with it. I'm sure a lot, because you game plan for certain pitchers, right? They knew who was going to be pitching. Maybe we didn't understand so much, because I know I didn't, how it was backwards like that. But if you face good arms and good arms out of the pen, you're going to struggle more, especially if you don't follow the plan. So, yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opener. You're never as high as the highest high, and you're never as low as the lowest low, and that's for sure. But, going into game 2 on Saturday, I was feeling pretty good after those 2 big wins. And it was kind of a slap in the mouth, punch in the face, whatever you want to say. I was a little disappointed about Sunday. I thought we would bounce back, but it wasn't to be. Like you said, we did get a lot of hits, but not when we needed them in the right spots. So it just shows you that you really have to be on point, especially when you're playing competition like this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And again, same thing, not the lowest lows. It felt a little rough there, the end of the weekend. I think the key thing is, what do they take from it? What do they learn from it? How do they apply that in the next series? And we'll get an opportunity to take a look at that. They've got 5 games coming up, and we're going to really get a good chance to see how does this team respond, and can they get back to the approaches, And you're right. Coach nailed it. Coach is just like, they know what to do. They've already shown they know what to do. They just need to go out there and do it. And let's be honest, it's a tough game. And it's tough to be, from a hitter's perspective, to be that consistent all the time. But the key is they need to adapt to when they have pitching that is executing the level that the San Diego pitching was executing. And overall, I'd tell this San Diego team really, really was impressive. Once their bats got going, pretty much all but one guy was a serious threat. Most of that order was a serious threat throughout the weekend. And I felt that we had some bright spots in pitching. I was really positive with what we saw from Matt Litwicki. Adding another guy who is able to provide relief on the weekend at that level, with the kind of velocity he was throwing, I think is a big positive for how this team can do during weekend series.
I feel like we always knew he was there too, right? Like Litwicky
Yeah.
was always like, oh, and then there's Litwicky if we have him. If he gets an opportunity to pitch more, and I think he needs more consistent pitching to really keep the velo in the control where we want it, because he is nasty when he's on. Just another thing I was thinking about, when we talked about this last week, it was 7 games in 8 days. And to be honest, these 2 coming up could have been, you know how they say like schedule losses, stuff like that. They're not anymore. Okay, we had 1 canceled, and we had run ruled those other clowns. We got 2 innings closed there, and we were throwing whoever we wanted. So I think that there's a lot more importance to these 2 coming up, where they're not, you know, at the end, you know, we're not spent. You know what I mean?
Right.
We only threw 2 guys on Friday. We had 9 full innings taken off the slate. No, excuse me, 11, because Friday had 9 innings and then 2 innings from the run rule. So I really think he can lengthen out it a little bit more for these next 2. Let's get them both. RPI-wise, I don't know how important they are, but I think this is our first losing streak. We haven't lost 2 games in a row yet. We have now. This would be good to just jump back on, get 2 in the books, and then, you know, hit the weekend running.
Well, not just that, but now it means that we're going to see guys that we haven't seen pitch in leverage moments. We've seen them pitch in either, okay, we've got a 10-run lead, go ahead and you've got an inning, but you know Kruger's sitting there in the bullpen in case this gets out of hand.
That's staring over your shoulder.
Yeah, that's not what these guys are going to be facing. These guys are going to be expected. It may just be an inning or 2, but hey, it's your inning or 2, and if it goes south, it could cost this team a game. So that's going to be a different environment that these guys are going to get to pitch in, and one of those games is on the road, which the one game on the road in this whole big stretch.
Right. A lot of guys playing in their hometowns, right? Dunham's from that area. I know Ashley, Kruger too. You just mentioned, right? Aren't they all from that? Maybe not Evansville, but that area in Indiana. That'd be cool to have friends and family there, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, I think if we can get these 2, and they became a lot more important. Let's just put it that way in my mind than they were when I thought we'd have 0 pitching because we just went through so many innings. And we'll see how we go from here. These home games are important. You know, I know you're always talking about it. When you play on the road, a road series, you get 1, it kind of evens it all out. You know, we can't be blowing games at home. Let's get right back on it. Let's get right back on these midweeks, and then we'll hit our and we don't want to call it a rotation, but we'll hit our weekend pitchers back on Friday.
All right. Well, that will do it for this edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. Read up on Indiana baseball at iubase.com. Follow us on Twitter at CUAtTheBart and at IUBase17. For Chris Feeney, I'm Carl James. See you at the Bart.